Hi everybody, and welcome to Passover ASMR. I'm going to be making a Passover meal for all of you, and we're going to hear all of the funny sounds it makes. Because that's what the internet people do. There isn't a whole lot you really have to prepare for that. There's the things on the Seder plate, which I'll get into in a second. And then the only two foods you really have to cook for are this egg and this matzah. So, it looks like we have everything we need here. We got some flour, we got water right behind me. Because we're not barbarians, I brought some salt. One thing we absolutely will not need is yeast. It is an abomination for theological purposes, which I will explain later. It's so easy, anybody can do it, even me. Now, let's get started. Now, once you've gotten rid of your horrible fungus, preheat the oven to, let's say, 400 degrees. How does the oven work here? First thing you're going to need is roughly 2 cups of flour. Get that going nice and good. And you want about 1/3 as much water as you have flour in there. Pour it in slowly. And just start, mixing it together. So mix it all up. Probably good. As those of you who actually cook at home have probably noticed, I'm not good at this. So, my technique is subpar. I just won't pretend to be a good chef, alright? You're gonna want 3 pieces. Each of them has a significance during the actual meal. And just roll them out until they're flat. It's like a big old cookie. It's not sticky. Because rolling pins are for simps, we're going to do this by hand. We forgot to turn the oven on while we were making the matzah. This is fine. Now while our matzah is in the oven, we're going to boil some eggs, because eggs is really the only thing that you need to cook other than that. So, those of you who don't know, the 2 ingredients to a hard-boiled egg are boil and egg. It's quite simple. Perfect. While we're waiting for our matzah and eggs, I want to explain a little bit of theology. Now, yeast is not good. It represents sin, according to what Jesus says to the Pharisees, because you get a little bit of it, a little pinch, and it works itself through a whole batch of dough, and then the whole thing gets poofy. Now, the thing about poofy bread is that there's bread there, and that's fine, but there's also air there, and air's not bread. You can't eat air, so that's not fine. Having both of them in the same thing, having a loaf of bread that both is and not bread, is an abomination. It is an affront to Western philosophy, and it is actually quite a good picture of you and your stance with God, because you have sin in you, and it's a thing. But that's not okay today, because we're making unleavened bread to represent the Passover, because it's Jesus' body, not yours. I just put that. Yeah. Alright, and next, another thing just to help cool them off. For every egg in the pot, put an ice cube. This is just a table setting thing. Instead of a salt shaker, they got a bowl full of salt water that you dip things in. I don't get it, but I guess it's what they had. And that should be the matzah. Let's see. And look at that. Absolutely hideous. I love it. They stuck. Take these, somehow, 3 cups. The haggadah, I think that's the egg. You got the haggadah. I don't know what a haggadah is, so we're not going to use it. You got heavy soup. That should be all. Now the Passover meal is divided into 14 segments. It's almost a kind of liturgy, like a sermon you can eat, in a way. The first part of that is the kiddush, which involves drinking a glass of wine. Part 2, rachatz. It's a ceremonial washing. Basically, you do like that, and you do like that, and you dry it off. Step 3, karpas, and this involves something on the Seder plate. Take lettuce, break a bit of it off for everybody at the table. Eat it. Step 4, yachatz. You take the middle piece of matzah, you break it apart, and you hide it. At this point, you take the egg and this bone off of the Seder plate, and I don't know what you do with them after that. A note about the bone. Prior to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, it would have been the shank of the Passover lamb, but they don't really do that anymore, so you can use a chicken leg, which is what I used. Step 5, MacLeod. Pour your second glass of wine. Now at this point, the head of the household has to tell the story of the Exodus and the Passover and the 10 plagues and all that. Every time that a plague is mentioned, take a drop of your wine and pour it in the cup of iniquity. So, blood, frogs, and gnats, flies, livestock, boils, locusts first, right? Then hail, darkness, firstborn. Now you set this aside and you don't drink it because it represents your sin. And look, the cup is full, and who's going to drink that? You're not going to drink that, you die. Now at this point, the head of the table is supposed to tell the entire Passover account, and also Hebrews 11, which a lot of people think is part of the Passover liturgy, but we're not really sure. I'm going to spare you those details because I'm sure you know the Passover account, and then you drink your own cup. Next step, rachatz 2. But this time everybody at the table gets to do it, not just the master. Next step, motza matzah is called. Take the top piece of matzah, break it up so everybody at the table gets some. Hold it. The master says a blessing in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew, I'm not going to do that. And then you eat it. It still tastes like Play-Doh. Next step, maror, means bitter herbs. This is supposed to be horseradish, but I couldn't find any, so this is celery, which is the best thing I had. You dip it in this stuff, which is called haraset. It's just a bunch of ground apples and nuts. It represents mud and making bricks without straw, so like labor and stuff. And you eat it. And it doesn't taste very good. It's supposed to represent bitterness, so I guess that makes sense. I like the bitterness of sin. Next step, correct. Take the last piece of matzah. Break it so that everybody gets 2 pieces. Put some ground up horseradish, ground up celery in my case, some more of that haraset stuff. Slap in between 2 pieces of matzah is a sandwich. Next step, shulchan orek. Means setting the table. At this point, you get rid of the Seder plate and you have actual supper. Rules about food at the Passover meal is that it's probably got to be kosher, right? Now, the full set of rules for what Jewish people can and cannot eat can be found in a couple of places, including Leviticus 11. The main gist of it for, say, land animals is that it has to have cloven hooves and it has to chew its cud. So that means cows and sheep are fine, pigs and, say, rabbits are not, but the giraffe that you have in your basement that you don't want people to know about, That's okay. That's okay. Next step, tzafon. You go get the kids to play hide and seek with the matzah and when, you know, the stuff that you hid away earlier. And then they go find it and they bring it back. Found it. All right. So now you got your found matzah or whatever, and this is the stuff that Jesus gave and said to the disciples, "This is my body." Now the significance of that is that it was the second of three things you remember. It was broken and hidden away, and then it was resurrected in a way, and now it's yours. At this point, you break the bread. It's called a thicament, and then everybody gets a piece. And you eat it.
It actually is Play-Doh.
I know.
That is not good.
No. Next step, Baruch. Third glass of wine. There we go. All right. Everybody gets another glass of wine, and then you pour at the end of the table another cup for the unseen guest, which is Elijah. And now we wait. And we open the door. And if Elijah shows up, then it's Judgment Day, and we can all go home. If he doesn't, then we close the door and we get back to supper. I don't think he's coming, so back to business. 13th step is the Hallel, which means praise. You turn to Psalm 115 and you just start singing until you get to 118, and that's a good thing right there. Then you get your fourth and final cup of wine for the night. This video was a mistake. So then you say a blessing, and then it's over. Then you go to the garden and get betrayed by your best friend. It's a good